Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back to the Cajun Libertarian Live. I am your host, the Cajun Libertarian. Love to have y'all with us tonight as we get into the show. We'll be talking with Jennifer Moore, the state chair for the Pennsylvania Libertarian Party. We will talk about how she decided to get involved at this level, the 2021 projects, and how life has been since taking over. Also, how she's going to help get libertarians elected in the next cycle tonight on the Cajun Libertarian Live. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back. So if you want to go to my website, we have a new shirt online, CajunLibertarian.com. So please go visit that. You can always PayPal me, Stripe me, all that good stuff. So getting into our sponsors so that we can get to the show, which we will have Jennifer Moore, Chairwoman, Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania, tonight. Our first sponsor comes to you from Laura Province, K2 Realty. Your home is your sanctuary. As a second-generation real estate agent, Laura Province knows the importance of helping her clients navigate through the home buying and or selling process. Whether you're buying your first home, a second investment property, or seeking the dream entertainment residence, you will have a seamless experience with K2 Realty. So please go check her out. She is in South Louisiana. Also, Video Debate. VidDebate app is designed to give users the ability to use their God-given right of free speech to post up to 3-minute videos on the topic of the day. Every day, VidDebate will post a question in the hopes to draw a strong opinion from all sides of a range of topics from pop culture to politics. And Brian Lamar started that app, and it is now available on iOS and also Google. So, Samsung. Check it out. Video Debate. Very popular. And our last and final sponsor, high-end bags and accessories. Fierce Luxury by Ashley. That's fierceluxurybyashley.com. Fierce Luxury is a high-end bag and accessories consignment store based online. They carry the hottest brands like Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Gucci, and Hermes. Consign with them for a 30% fee, 20% less than most consignment stores. Find them online at fierceluxurybyashley.com. That's fierceluxurybyashley.com. And on Facebook in their exclusive group, Fierce Luxury by Ashley. That's fierceluxurybyashley.com. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Fantastic. So, without further ado, the lady of the night, Jennifer Moore. Let's bring her on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. How are you?
I'm good. We're going to meet in person next weekend, right?
I was going to ask you the same question. Yeah,
Yep.
I didn't know if you were going to be in Jersey Shore or not.
I will. I actually have a speaking slot on with Steve Sheets on Saturday morning. We're going to be talking about navigating a toxic political environment, so that should be fun. And then I'll be chairing. Yeah, and then I'm going to be chairing the board meeting there. So the board meeting, actually, Liz herself asked us to include the board meeting because it's usually always on the third Saturday. She asked us to have the in-person board meeting there so that it can be a part of her event. So, with the perspectives on liberty, one of the things that people can choose to see is, how a board meeting works for a working political committee. So
nice.
So it should be interesting. You're riding up with Steve Sheets, right?
I believe so.
From the airport. Yeah, Steve, I think is probably my biggest fan. Every time he talks about me, I feel like I was rickrolled. So you get to sit in the car with him for several hours.
That's fantastic. Oh, yeah. I've had Steve Sheets on, and him and I have talked several times. He's pretty hilarious. I like Steve a lot. So yeah, that's pretty funny.
I'm a Sheets fan too. So
a Sheets fan.
We've been working together for a lot of years. I pick on him pretty often, and he just takes it with good humor. Yeah.
Yeah. Pick on him even more. Like, don't relent. Double down on your picking on Steve Sheets.
I'm sure he's
So
watching and he's probably laughing.
he better be watching. And he better be laughing, I'm sure. Sam Robb says, hey, Noel, looking forward to seeing you this weekend at Perspectives on Freedom. Yes, I look forward to seeing all of y'all as well. Yeah, I was going to ask you if you're going to be there. I assumed that you were, but I didn't want to assume as well. I've been so busy. I'm trying to get everything going in the last minute. So my plane should get there about 1:09 according to the itinerary. And that's in Philly. So then you got what, like 2 hour drive, 1 hour drive?
Yeah, it's a couple hours. I'm in the Philly suburbs. I actually have to work, so I won't be leaving until about 5:30, 6 o'clock. My kids are actually going on like a Cub Scout camping trip, and I wish so much I could go with them, but I'm sure we'll have fun, at the Libertarian event too.
Yeah. We'll definitely have a bunch of fun. So am I wrong in I'm pretty sure I remember this right, but Steve Sheets actually stepped down to run for Senate, and then you got to take over. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was always kind of Steve's exit plan. So this is another thing that I need to pick on him about, because the truth is,
Absolutely.
when I came to this party, I never wanted to run for leadership. I never wanted to run for elected office, and I have done a lot of that now. So
Nice.
But
Yeah, sorry, I switched the wrong screens there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Keep going. I really wanted to hear your story and how you've gotten from where you used to be. If you want to give us a background on how you came to libertarianism, but what like literally inspired you to step into this kind of an environment, into these kinds of shoes?
Absolutely. Well, I was actually involved with the Republicans back in the mid-aughts. I worked on the Dick DeVos campaign actually back in 2006. And
Wow.
yeah, I kind of walked out of the Republican Party during that time, just realizing that I didn't belong there. A lot of it was war and, things like that.
Right.
I mean, it's just, being in West Michigan and, just looking at the different issues that were really important to them, I just knew I didn't belong. I was a libertarian, but at that time I hadn't really found the party, and it was several years later, almost a decade later, when I decided to get back into politics. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was kind of bored, and I was looking at the state of the world, and I started following things online. And there was this event, the Mid-Atlantic Liberty Festival, that was going to happen in conjunction with the state convention that year in April. It was actually my birthday weekend. And I said to my husband, I want to go to the Libertarian convention for my birthday. And he's like, are you serious, Jen? Like, you want to go to a political convention for your birthday? I'm like, yes, this is what I want to do. The event actually was planned by Steve Sheets, and it ended up just going completely down in flames because there was, yeah, it was canceled because there were speakers that were not great. The type of thing that we see on and off over the years with Macho Flash and just, pretty horrible people attaching themselves to the liberty movement. We had Antifa bomb threats, the whole nine. But I decided to go anyway, despite the fact that it was, canceled, and go to they had a smaller event where they had, local speakers and, of course, the convention. I went, I got way too drunk. I had a terrible hangover. I made a lot of friends. I had a really good time. But at that point I said, I don't really want to be involved. Like, I'll come and like hang out and work on projects, but I don't want to be a leader. So, a few months went by, and Dr. Moulton walks into the picture, and we'll probably talk about him a little bit more later. But, he had this list of positions that were uncontested, and there was one in my township for auditor. And I said, you know what? I've got a financial degree. I've got a financial background. It's only like a few days a year. I can probably handle this. So I decided to run for office. Should have been an easy walk-in position. And I got my signatures, turned them in, and I was challenged by the Republican incumbent supervisor.
I'm shocked.
They wanted to challenge me off the ballot. It turned out that I needed 46 signatures, and the Board of Elections told me I only needed 10, which is what the major parties need. So I went through the court case. I won. The judge gave me 20 more days to go and get the rest of my signatures. So I went out and got like almost 100. But by the time all that was done, I was so angry at how things are stacked against minor parties. And also the fact that I didn't really feel like at the state level there was much help. Like no one could even advise on where to find a lawyer or if our challenge was winnable. There was just no help. So I went on, I won my election, and I decided after that, because I wanted to bring a focus on elections to the LPPA to run for Eastern Vice Chair. So I won Eastern Vice Chair, and I served in that role for 3 years. During that time, I helped organize 11 counties. And we, in 2019, using the same method, the Moulton maneuver is what we call it, that Chuck Moulton coined, that I had won my election in 2017. In 2019, we won 47 elections using that same method.
Wow.
And this year, we have ramped it up to the point where we're going to win well over 100. So that kind of leads into what we're doing now.
Right. And that's the word on the street, right? Like, is that in 2022, Pennsylvania is going to have 100 elected libertarians in office.
Right.
And so, go ahead.
No, right now we have about 70, between those of us who were elected for and the ones that won in 2019. This year, what we did was we sent about 16,000 letters to registered libertarians around the state, saying that there's this position in your township or borough, and if you want to run and you get on the ballot, you'll win. We currently have 139 candidates on the ballot. 114 of them are uncontested. So we expect that we will very likely have 114 winners. In addition to that, we're about to ramp up a write-in campaign. If this follows 2019, we won about half of our elections on write-in. So I'm hoping that we can win at least 50 more, maybe even 100 more. So by the time that this is over, Pennsylvania very well could have more elected libertarians than the rest of the country combined. And these 25 contested candidates, some of them have a really good shot too. They're in areas where they, don't have a high vote count to actually win the election. They're out there knocking doors and sending mailers. We may win some of those as well. But as far as 2022, that is our even year elections are state level. So it's state wrapping up. I do think that it's very possible for us to send someone to Harrisburg, using some of the methods that have been, perfected with things like the Frontier Project. We have areas where we have state reps where we have a 10-year incumbent who always runs unopposed and, very low vote count, low population areas. I think that a motivated libertarian, if they got in there, knocked doors and really campaigned, they could do it.
So what's the deal with Pennsylvania? Why is that population so susceptible to conforming to the libertarian ideology or accepting of it and embracing of it, right?
Well, it's the Keystone State. This is the cradle of liberty. And I think that what's happening here, the rest of the nation is going to follow. I know that we can pull off the Moulton maneuver in several other states. I mean, we just need to tweak it. We have, here in Pennsylvania, we have some quirks of election law that lets us know who's on the ballot as far as Democrats and Republicans for about 5 or 6 weeks prior to our ballot access deadline. But in other places, even if they're just running write-ins, I think that people can win. Especially up in the Pennsylvania wilds and in the Poconos, you see just, people who have this, freedom attitude where we're seeing, anywhere from 6 to 9% of the vote. The other thing that I can say, in 2020, I ran for Auditor General. And I ended up getting the highest vote totals for any third party in the state that year. And anywhere where we had down ballot running, where we had state reps running, or we had people run in the recent past, my vote totals were much higher there. So all of this builds on each other. The more candidates we run, the more people we have in elected office, I think the more successful all the subsequent runs are going to be.
Right. So you got Joe Solosky running at the top of the ticket. And
then he's seeking our nomination.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry, but I'm sure he'll get. I hope he gets it. He's fantastic.
I hope he gets it too. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And nobody's announced against him yet.
Yeah. I mean, it feels pretty much guaranteed. So the key to Pennsylvania's success, Governor Joe Solosky. Anyway, sorry. And I've talked to him as well. I talked to him like 2 weeks ago. I think that all of August has been basically Pennsylvania, which is freaking awesome. And then I'm going to get to meet y'all this weekend. But there's something I held in high regard when I talked to Larry Sharp and the way he did things, and that's using the top ticket to work the down ballot, right? And to help those people coming up from the bottom, using the media coverage and your resources and tools at the top ticket to help out those down ballot. And I talked to Joe about the same thing, and he verified that as well. And so I think it's going to be a very good season for y'all. Actually, I know it is, and like you said, when we watch PA, what we're going to do is the rest of the country is going to be able to pull from that, right? And we're going to see all those elected libertarians. We're going to see how Joe Solosky and Jennifer Moore used all of your assets to work all the way down and elect more. You're probably right. I don't know. I got a really good feeling about 2022, I'll be honest with you. But there's a high chance that you will actually have more libertarians elected to office than the rest of the country. I just think that we're going to see a little bit of a wave in 2022.
I think so too. I think everybody else is going to follow. This is, we're learning how to leverage our data in ways that we never have before to use our voter registration list, and do bulk mailings. And I'm one of my goals as chair was also to get us more active on social media, which I have not had to really do that much because our committee has been so great. But
Right.
they're also leveraging data to make sure that we have the proper outreach. These are things that we didn't do a few years ago. It just wasn't done. I mean, we had a couple hundred members. Now we're up over 1,500. Our voter registration base has been growing. As far as our financials, we hired an executive director, Kevin Goggin, a couple of years ago, and we went from a few $1,000s a year to $100,000, which seems small, compared to a major party, but for a minor party, we can do a lot with those resources. So it's amazing to see the exponential growth, and we have all the growing pains to go along with it. But it is what it is.
Always. Right.
I'm excited about the people that, I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of these libertarians who got the letters, who called us about ballot access. And I can't say enough, a lot of them were already community leaders. They start giving you their job titles and you're just like, really? Wow. And they're from all over the libertarian spectrum. You might, ask them what's taxation, and they might not yell back that it's theft, because they don't understand, the virtue signaling yet, but they are principled, good libertarians, and most of them want to serve their communities, and they don't like something that they've seen at the local level, whether it's taxation or it's, issues that they've had with their zoning board and their property rights. I mean, all of them have strong opinions about something that they've been paying attention to locally, and now they want to be a constable or a supervisor or an auditor, to take that on. So it's been amazing talking to them and, having that opportunity.
That's very incredible. I mean, the vast majority of people that come to the Liberty Movement and the Libertarian Party are people that, they want to grow a garden without anybody's permission. They want to paint their shed without somebody's permission. It's that I hear that story so much, and I think it rings true in Pennsylvania, obviously, because you guys are electing so many libertarians.
Yeah, a lot of it is just the nepotism too. Of it's like this one family that's always controlled this town, and they're hiring all of their their cousins' kids, and I think that it's time for some new blood making decisions. I hear that story over and over again, especially in the rural towns where it's been the same family controlling things. In making decisions, and all the tax money seems to be flowing in the wrong direction. So
1 second.
Yep, absolutely.
I lost audio.
Uh-oh.
Let me make sure it ain't me.
I can hear you, right?
Okay, let's try it now.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Nope. Lost audio.
No.
All right. Hold on. Let's see here 1 second, folks, if we can figure this out. Oh, so it is me. So Mohican says, everybody says they can hear everybody, but all of a sudden I can't hear anything. Where?
I can hear you just fine.
Second, guys, I am so sorry. I think I can fix this really quick. And now we're back at it. Okay. So now that we got that fixed,
Good
yeah,
now?
I can hear you again. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. Anyway, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
I was going to say the most common positions that we're going to elect this year are constable and auditor, which are both pretty
Right.
important. Constable, their main job is to keep the peace at the polls, but they can also do things like, warrant work and things like that. A lot of libertarians don't like to take it that far because, they don't want to be involved with the courts. But,
Right.
it's optional. They can. Auditors are kind of a fiscal watchdog, and, they are the ones who audit the books and, they keep the politicians honest. So those are really important. We're going to elect school board, which is really a big deal right now with everything going on with the pandemic. I
Right.
think that a lot of school board positions went uncontested because it's become such a stressful job. Where we've got mayors, we have supervisors. Those are the main ones that we're going to see. We also have judge and inspector of elections. Those are the people who, ensure elections integrity.
Right.
So we're actually going to recruit really hard for those mayor, supervisor, borough council, and school director jobs for write-in. We're going to focus on those first, hoping that we can get libertarians into some decision-making positions.
So you guys have boroughs in Pennsylvania?
We do, yeah.
Okay, they have boroughs in Alaska.
So we'll be electing a bunch of people to council most likely, which is wonderful.
That's
because
incredible.
they make decisions. And, I'm telling you, the last couple auditors in my township, after they stepped down from auditor, they went on to work on the zoning board and make decisions about property rights. So that's an appointed position here, but still just getting in and getting to know everybody can get you into those type of roles, which is really a big deal. And I believe that some of these constables are going to go on and run for sheriff and win, and some of these mayors
Nice.
are going to run for state rep and win. Like, this is how we build. We build the bench this way,
Right, right. So what's it been like since you took over as the chair of the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania with all of its intensity and just growth and success? How's life for you right now?
Well, it's not an easy job to be in
Right.
at all. I know a lot of people heard about our convention, and for the first time in the history of the party, we did not waive our 180-day requirement, which means about half of the people who were in attendance were not able to vote at the convention. Which was tough. It was, a tough fallout, and the convention was very contested because of it. So, I walked into a tough situation because I certainly
Very.
didn't want to see it go that way. So, I walked in where a lot of people were already really mad at me because of the decisions of the delegation. The very first thing that I did was try to meet with people from the different factions and hear them out and talk to them, and try to integrate some of them into our various state level boards. We have gotten a few people on. There's not a lot of openings, but I've done my best to try to get everybody working together. I think that the Molten maneuver really helped with that, because I saw people from every faction put their differences aside
Right.
and just work on this project and get people on the ballot so that we can get people elected. It was really a good thing to see. But I'm telling you what, like, since being the chair, I can't tell you how many people contact me because someone was mean to them on Facebook or Twitter. Like, and I just, like, there's nothing that I can do with that. Like, I mean, it's
Right.
not, like, I can't enforce decorum outside of a board meeting. I mean, there's simply nothing I can do with it. So I
Right.
just have been, like, baffled. It just, it's just something that I can't, from my position, I can't do much, but, I try to, at least listen. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I have,
That doesn't surprise me at all to hear you
yeah.
say that those are the kinds of messages that you're getting, because it's just,
And it's
oh man.
heartbreaking when they won't contact me about ballot access because they don't want to bother me, and maybe a
Right.
you know, person didn't make the ballot because they didn't reach out, but they contacted me about Twitter, and I'm like, come on, man.
Right.
You know, but you know, I have to say, you know, and this isn't talking about any one faction because I see it from every side of the fence. There's the same like 6 or 10 people that like are constantly like instigators. And everybody who works with us know who they are. They're the people that every time they have a disagreement with you, they start yelling that you have no principles, that you're corrupt, that you're destroying the party.
Right.
You know, they're the people who are looking through the old minutes and bylaws looking for a gotcha, you know, and are very focused on that type of stuff. You know, they're the ones that everybody is saying, you know, we just got 139 people on the ballot, and they're like throwing in old grievances. And we're
Yep.
like, literally no one but you is talking about that right now. You know, but I have to say that like 99% of us are working really well together, and everybody knows who those instigators are.
Right.
And I'm telling you, they come from every faction. Everybody's got some. But most people are ignoring that. And they're just, you know, working to, you know, grow the party, get people elected, you
Right.
know, do what's right. Like, I can't say enough about the people who have ignored that stuff and not taken the bait and have, you know, just continued to work on putting together our convention, or, you know, increasing our membership, or putting out, you know, a social media message that's professional but, you know, still touches on our issues. Like, you know, it's most of this party is good. We're here for the right reasons. We're not here to fight. You know, the infighting happens.
Right.
I feel like I get a lot of the brunt of it because I get all the messages about
Yeah,
literally
totally.
everything from, you know, and honestly, my friends and allies are just as bad about it because, you know, they're complaining too. And it's, you know, at the end of the day, we just need projects to work on together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
most of the things that have come up that are really issues are because there was no collaboration. You know, if somebody would have reached out between board meetings and said, why did this happen? What was the reasoning for this? It probably would have gone a lot better than just, you know, assuming other people's motives.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's a huge issue amongst many organizations, right? It's
Yeah.
probably the number one failure amongst, I would say, at least 85% of organizations of any sort of success, even if it's just, you know, 70 employees or 60 people, you know, even less. Communication is going to be the number one downfall
Um,
of all of that, because when you don't communicate, you assume somebody else's intentions, you assume somebody else's emotions. We are assuming each other, and everybody knows what assuming does, right? Makes an
right.
ass out of you and me. And so there's a breakdown in communication. That's why I find it to be super constructive to have an open and honest dialogue. That's me. I understand not everybody's for that. I get it. A lot more people are reserved than me. I spend a lot of time in front of a lot of people on the internet. I get it. It's easier for me to be transparent than a lot of people, but I hide it in whole regard, because if I can be honest with you, Jennifer, and tell you, hey, look, that thing you just told me, I don't know what you mean. Right?
Right.
Can you please explain that to me? And then boom, now I've got some answers. But we can be honest with each other, like, hey, I didn't understand what you meant by that. I didn't understand how you felt. Can you please explain that to me? You know, and that open form of communication will progress us so far.
And honestly, there's been a few times too where, you know, communication has had to be shut down because it's gotten so out of hand. You know, we turned off the Zoom comments. You know, it wasn't a unilateral decision by me, but I was very appreciative of it. And it was because we had these like destructive sidebar conversations
Oh
going
yeah, that'll happen.
during our meetings. And like in an in-person meeting, if someone was being disruptive like that, we would probably ask them to leave. So in Zoom, it just wasn't appropriate. But a lot of people took that as the board shutting down communication and not allowing, you know, the membership to speak. There is time for public commentary, and that's the
Right.
time to bring that kind of thing up. But you know, it was becoming such a distraction from the meetings to have
I,
people insulting each other, and there was no way for me to keep track of the Zoom. In the
so,
same sense, we had a Slack that was set up for the state party, and it ended up being like a lot of argument arguments, you know, our leadership's unprincipled, and, you know, I mean, it just ended up being insults thrown, and that is still there as a venue, but unfortunately it didn't really hold up to the hopes, because nobody wants to have to chair a 24/7 meeting. You know, if we're going to set up these type of structures for people to talk all day and all night, like, I don't know. I mean, there almost have to be rules around them. And who's going to deal with that? You know, like, it can't be me. So, you know, somebody has to manage it in some way, shape, or form. Because, I mean, if you've exactly, they have to moderate. If you've ever been the admin on like a libertarian Facebook group, you know how quickly things can devolve. So
yeah, I've created a couple.
but the problem with that, you know, the other side of that coin is these things were created with no agreed upon rules, or you know, just no agreed upon decorum. So, like, how do you implement that later where everybody's going to agree to it, and like, who has the authority to do so? Like, I mean, we need that open dialogue, but I'm not sure what venue we can make it happen in.
Well, okay, so let me be clear real quick. What I meant was I wasn't talking about your commentary during the Zoom calls. I didn't know about that. That's crazy to me. I'm hearing it live, like most people probably are right now. I didn't know that. I meant between, like, I'm going to use you for example because you're the chair. You and all of the people that you've surrounded yourself with as a team. And that would go for anybody, right? If it was Steve Sheets still in that, and Steve Sheets still has to do that because he's running for Senate. Okay, right? So your teammates need the open dialogue. Let me be clear though, for anybody that may be a part of that situation, that's not acceptable. Okay, if you're commenting on Zoom and creating chaos during a board meeting of that is not the time or place. Don't do that. That's immature and childish, and it's not the right time or place. Sorry.
You see it happen at the national level on their meetings, where like the Zoom like is just like, it gets insane. I mean, it just happens that way. I think that when people are behind a keyboard, they're willing to say things that they wouldn't otherwise. And so, you know, on the same line of conversation, I do think that I'm going to start setting up like you know, monthly, just, you know, office hours, and have like a you know, chairs forum, so that we can get into like a Zoom meeting and talk, because I think that's going to be better than a Slack channel or a Zoom chat. So much gets lost in text, and I've even had disagreements in our subcommittees where they like thought I was being really serious when it wasn't quite like that, because so much of the nuance gets lost in text.
Absolutely. And a lot of the nuance is what's missing in our conversations today, not just among libertarians. I mean, amongst the general population, when we're out with each other, when we're talking online with whomever we're having a conversation with, right? That nuance, that context is important. And so that a lot of times I'll get lengthy with my commentary just because I want to make sure that there's context there, right? You understand the full complexities of the conversation that I'm trying to present forth. And there's just, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer. I feel like we live in a microwave society, and that includes critical thinking. That includes conversation. We want that instant feedback. We want this slam dunk of a comment and then move on. But
so much of it's within our echo chamber too, you know, which is another, you know, and people don't realize quite how much of a spectrum libertarianism is.
Right. Yeah, I'll throw the comments up there now and then.
Yeah, I'm reading it.
Speak their mind, Rusty. I go through a lot of frustration with this when it comes to local school board meetings that lock parents out.
You know, it's interesting. My school board, they decided to. We now have a mask mandate from the government, but my school board, before that came about, they sent out a survey to all the parents asking how they felt about masks, and then they had an extended meeting that went for hours so they could hear everybody. And they decided at the end of it, you know, based on the feedback from parents, to go with mask in the schools for like a month or two, and then they would reevaluate it based on local case rates. But I really appreciated the fact that they took the time to engage with the local community. And sometimes it did get heated. But our school board, I think, did a great job with it. You're not necessarily seeing that around the country. But that's the other thing, getting into that conversation is I can approach my local school board as a parent and as a voter. I can't approach the governor.
Right.
So, that's a argument for being local. And I don't mind my kids wearing a mask to school, but it's different when it's coming from Harrisburg versus, my school board where, I know the school director lives down the street from me.
Yeah, yeah, and I look, if you as a parent want to send your children or child to school with a mask on, I fully support that. That
Yeah.
that's your choice, but I think it should be left up to the parent, right? And if the community feels like they're going to vote on it, and that is a complete democratic vote, that the vast majority of the neighborhood wants to do that, then that's on the community, right?
Yeah.
I just believe wholeheartedly that it should be if you want to send your kid to school with a mask or without a mask, that's your choice as a parent. You don't owe anybody any explanation because nobody else knows what that child might suffer from medically or mentally or anything like that. And it really, quite frankly, isn't anybody's business.
My school has been wonderful with the options too. Like they, when all of that came about, they offered like another enrollment period. They have like two different online options that, one of them is more
Nice.
long term and one of them is short term. I mean, they've been really, really good with just, offering different situations. Like my kids need to
Right.
be in school. My daughter didn't do well because she's only in second grade. And my son, who was already able to read, like he was okay with the remote stuff. My daughter fell behind. So
Right.
if wearing a mask is what she needs to do to be in class and be learning in person, I'm totally fine with that. Like I just want her to be in school because, without it, she fell way behind. And we're catching up. I mean, she'll be okay. I was a slow, reader too when I learned, and I was in some of those, special classes. And, by the time I got to high school, I was reading at a bachelor's degree level. So I hope it's the same for her. And she just needs that little extra boost.
I hope so. It seems to be our education system seems to be evolving by the second. So what you and I went through as kids, man, I don't know. We don't put our kids in school. My 13-year-old who doesn't live with me, she does go to school. She spent a year out of school, actually, not because of COVID, just happened to be the same time frame, but she was not doing well in school. She spent the time in remote learning, and it worked out. Homeschooling, and
Yeah.
as soon as homeschooling happened, that's when the what is now endemic virus started spreading around. So it just kind of worked out where everybody had to be remote, but that was something that we had decided for her as a child. But the remote learning did not work. She was
I
terrible
tell
at it.
you what,
She was terrible at
I
it.
wish that I could be a homeschooler, but it's just not. When I was a stay-at-home mom, like I became the director of a crisis pregnancy center. I got into politics, and my husband was just like, "Jen, you need to go back to work because you're not
Yeah,
handling this." Um, so like, I mean, I went
it's
in
tough.
a very young age. I got a graduate degree, and I was always going to have a career. And I'm really, really good at the healthcare finance stuff that I do. I manage a team that does customer service for the billing department for several hundred doctors. So I love my job. I love going to work every day. I
Nice.
mean, I'm working remotely now, but if I could find a homeschooler to pay to take my kids, I would love to go that route.
School
At the
choice.
same Yeah, at the same time, my public school is really, really good. Like I just went and met with my
It's
kids'
rare.
teachers, and they're doing like, I mean, they're actually like they get a paycheck and like they have to pay rent and like the whole nine. Like I mean, they're learning,
Nice.
just about personal finance and stuff in the fourth grade. you
That's
know,
fantastic.
I mean, the stuff that, when I just, I talk to the teachers in the school, and it's just a really good school system. I don't feel like I'm in an indoctrination factory when I'm there. I don't
Right.
think that's the case with all public schools. There's a lot of disparity. Some of them are just as bad as mine is good. And I have
Yeah.
the resources and the ability to move into a district and live in a district, where I have a choice. Not everybody has that.
Nope.
So I'm telling you what, the little farming community where I went to school, I was failing out of like 5 or 6 classes, and I thankfully had a good guidance counselor who pulled me in and asked what was
Right.
wrong. And it turned out that I was bored, and they sent me to college at 16. And so I was able to get a lot of college classes out of the way. But like, I mean, it was just
Nice.
a situation where I was 2 books ahead in math, not because I was smart, but because I came from another school that was just where we were. I mean,
Oh,
the
wow.
school that was a few miles away was, the next school district over. They just didn't have as robust of a program. So it's amazing how different it can be within like a 10-mile radius, one public school to the next. Of course, that
Absolutely.
was 20 years ago,
Yeah. Well,
but I
still
don't
though,
know if it's changed.
no, those specific schools may have changed, but the
Right.
overall atmosphere of public education and the Department of Public Education is not. Ever since the Department of Education was introduced in the Jimmy Carter era, or right before that, I can't remember quite exactly. We have seen a drop in education since then,
Mhm.
and that's because we're not allowing our parents and children to go to the schools and learn the curriculums that are best suited for them, instead of being able to check A, B, C, or D. And that's where we're at right now, right? We're just poll learning. You got to
Right.
learn how to multiple choice it. How do you pass um, this test? Not actually how are we teaching children.
That is one criticism that I actually do have, is that they're not focusing on social studies, like I would expect them to.
Hmm.
I mean, I remember, I mean, my son's in 4th grade, and when I was in 4th grade, we learned a lot about the history of our state and things like that. They actually have like 4 marking periods, and 3 of them are focused on science, and only in the last one are they going to do any social studies at all. And I truly believe that's because they're not tested on social studies like they are on the STEM. So they're educating to the test, and the science is very, very important, but to the detriment of what? Like, I'm not sure how it's going to pan out in the long term, where they're
Yeah.
just educating to the standardized testing.
Right, exactly. And some kids are going to be vastly more interested in social studies. They're going to
Yeah.
excel in social studies. They're not going to be great in science. That's why this kind of testing is faulty at worst, or I'm sorry, at best, it's faulty, because we're not actually advancing on the child's
Yeah.
ability to learn a specific interest in a specific study that would benefit them, because that's where their brain goes. And my wife's, or I'm sorry, not my wife, my wife is an educator. She's a homeschooler, but my stepmom just retired from 30 plus years of education, and she's like a real educator. She liked
Yeah.
to take how the student learned, what they were interested, how they were interested in learning, the things that they would learn the best and at the fastest rate, and worked on things that didn't work on as well, right? She would adapt her teaching school skills to the student. That's what is supposed to be teaching. Anyway, that's a big
Yeah.
topic for me. Sorry.
Well, it's interesting because we looked into private schools, and I toured several of them, and what I saw was that their curriculum was it just followed the public schools. Like, I
Oh,
wasn't able to
absolutely.
find a private school within driving distance that was going to offer any kind of a significantly different curriculum, which is one of the
Not at
reasons
all.
why we didn't go that route. It was the same exact thing. So I know that there are some in existence in the greater Philadelphia area that are really great,
Right.
but like, I also couldn't deal with an hour commute to school each way with my young kids. So,
Yeah, and see,
um,
but that's the issue, right? Is that you don't have the choice. And my
right,
stepmom, she worked in public school. She never worked in private school. So, if you saw, if from word of mouth, that's still the number one communicator of business in the country, or probably in the world, is word of mouth. If you found out that Dina Olin, my stepmother, was like, she's a fantastic K-4 teacher. She caters to the child. I would love to send my kid to her. You can't do that because based on your,
right.
it's just insane. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
There is
It's
no
in.
choice.
There's no
It's
choice, which means there's no competition, which drives the education value down. Sorry.
Well, it's interesting because when we talk about school choice, one of the things I talked about, moving from one school district to the next and being way ahead in my new school district. School of choice was not a thing yet in Michigan at that point. And what had to happen was both the school I was leaving had to agree to keep me, and I was right on the border. And the school that I was going to had to agree to let me stay there. Well, the school that I was in agreed to let me stay, but the school that I was going to said, no, we need the tax we need the revenue for her being here, so she has to come to us.
Exactly.
And so at that time it was like, I don't know, like $6,300 a year per student. It's way more than that now. But it was not based on my education. I went to a place where I was way ahead of the curriculum, to the point where in middle school I was taking classes with the high schoolers, just to be taking the algebra classes I needed to take, just to stay in line to not go backwards in my books. That we were, but I mean, it was really just driven by the almighty dollar. That it wasn't about my education, it was how much revenue they could get from me being there. And I don't think anything's changed on that front.
I imagine it has not, because it's the same system, the same entity, the same power apparatus that's running it right now. If there were true competition, then every one of the schools will be on the same level. It may take a while, but had it been competition from the gate, like it was for a century or so, then you wouldn't have the slack in schooling. Maybe you'd have one or two. That would be the outlier, right? The outlier would be this school was 2 curriculums behind the average age student of the rest of the schoolings. But instead, what we have is the very opposite of that. We have a handful of schools that are way above, and then you have the standard.
Yeah, it's interesting because we didn't really plan on getting onto the topic of school.
No, we did not.
It's not even really my niche. I'm a healthcare person, so I was in the field when we implemented HIPAA. I was in the field when we implemented electronic medical records. Like, I was a Affordable Care Act counselor for the first 3 years of the program while the website was crashing.
Wow.
So, like, I mean, I have seen some government intervention that, I honestly think that electronic medical records was the worst of everything that I've seen, because they basically told us that we had to switch to electronic, and we had to do it within a certain time frame, or they were going to start taking away our Medicare Medicaid reimbursement. And so we rushed into this technology that really wasn't very good, and we still are having ripple effects in billing all these years later, because the technology just wasn't robust enough to handle what we were doing, but we had to do it by government mandate. So I mean, I'm telling you that, like, all of our bills don't go out clean. Like, people get bills that where insurance adjustments weren't applied, or and it has to do with our software.
Wow.
It's just an ugly scene. And when people are already really sick, it's really, really difficult to manage all of the bills you've got coming in when there's errors in them, and to have to call a billing department like mine. HIPAA's come up a lot recently too, with all of the things that are going on. And HIPAA really didn't do a whole lot except for put barriers in place to getting your own records. Like, I mean, it's not what people think it is. It's not going to protect them in the ways that they think it is. It's not what the legislation was really for. So
no, I dealt with the medical system I was in medical care while I was in the military. I was a medical professional, but when I got out, since January 2018, I've spent a lot of time in the hospital due to a life-threatening disease that I'm finally getting over. So I fully understand what you're talking about right there. Not fully understand, but it is unrelenting.
I've got 99 problems on my desk, and all of them are TRICARE and VA. Like, I'm not even joking.
Wow.
Like, I mean, getting that stuff paid is a nightmare. They ask for authorizations that you've already given them 3 times. They just don't pay the bills. That's my biggest fear when people talk about socialized medicine, is that we're going to end up with VA for everybody, because that's not going to go well.
No, not at all. It looks like that's where we're headed.
Yeah, and I mean,
the VA is terrible.
And I believe me, getting them to pay the bills is just it's not easy. And one of our largest, markets is in Texas. So we have, there's some huge bases down there. So, I see a lot of people with that insurance, and it's tough. It's really tough. Because, they call and they're getting the full bill, and, we can't even that's another thing. If there's any veterans out there, I get people calling me saying that, the VA told me not to give you my ID number, not to give you any information. If you don't give us the information, we can't bill. So the bill is going to come to you. That's just like a public service announcement. Like you got to work with me. and give us the information that we need. I know that, the military tells you not to, but if we don't have that ID number in your name and your social security number, like, we're not going to be able to effectively get a claim out to them. So I don't know if you have any personal experience with that, but like, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because if, like, we don't have the information we need, how are we going to send it?
Yeah, I say, look, so many of us veterans come out of the military and we wind up libertarian for many, many,
Yep.
many reasons. The last thing we're about to try to do is release personal information that
I
the
know it.
government has told us not to release.
Not to release. I know. It makes life very hard. You know what's interesting? A few years ago, I actually volunteered at the USO at the Philadelphia airport. It was when my son was little, so it must have been about 8 years ago. He was a baby. And Philadelphia is where all the families of the fallen come, because they bring the remains to Dover. And I didn't last very long in that volunteer position, because it was really, really tough. You would have these people that just came from God knows where, and they're just still in shock, because they just found out that their son or daughter or husband or wife, is gone. Before. And it was really, really, like, the ones that were suicides, like, you could just tell by the cold way the orders were written that that's what happened. I mean, it just, and these people would get off the plane and they would just be in shock, and you'd offer them breakfast, and you'd, offer them a change of clean clothes, and you would just get them down to the officers who were going to drive them down to Dover. And it was just heartbreaking. It made me more libertarian. Like, I mean, that was probably one of the things that clinched it for me, because every week we saw it, and it was just, it all seemed so needless to me. There was this one morning where I was there. I worked on Saturday mornings, so I was usually, like, cooking breakfast. And there was this kid who had just gotten back from 13 months in Afghanistan. He walks back in the kitchen. He says, "Is that real milk?" And I'm like, "What do you mean real milk?" And he's like, "It's never been powdered." And I'm like, "No, it's real milk." And he's like, "Can I have some?" I'm like, "You can have the whole jug." The things we take for granted.
Yeah.
Just, not having powdered milk. You don't think about that until you've spent, 13 months in the sandbox, I guess. So, yeah, I only lasted 2 months in that one.
Powdered milk is the worst at first. And then you're like, you know what? I'm all right with it. And then at the end of it, you're like, I hate this so much. This is just as bad as when I first took the first sip. The powdered eggs are the same way.
Are they?
Yeah.
I have powdered eggs down. I think I have powdered eggs and powdered milk downstairs in my, like, the world's collapsing rations. We actually, like, order, like, stuff from the Mormon church, because they send you, like, these things of, like, flour and beans and rice that are, like, good, like, sealed for like 10 years. So I, like, have all these piles of food in my basement, because I am a libertarian still.
she's a translation prepper.
Right. So, like, I mean, yeah. So, I've got my bullets and I've got my food stores, like, at least enough for a couple months. But I have the powdered eggs and powdered milk, but I don't think I've ever tried them. When they get to the point where they're like, the dog's behind me. I didn't even realize she was back there.
Yeah, I've seen her a couple times.
One of my dogs, that's my, she's a boxer lab mix, and I also have a Treeing Walker coonhound that I adopted because her owner died of COVID last summer. So she's a typical hound. Like, she hears you, but she's not listening, and she does what she wants.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to the powdered eggs and milk, I donate all that stuff to, like, pantries when they get close to their date. So I'm probably making somebody else suffer. All that stuff that nobody wants to eat.
Yeah, I mean, that is a fact. But look, when you're desperate, when you're hungry, them powdered eggs and that powdered milk, it works. It works just fine. So, Jennifer, before we get off of here, is there anything else that we can do to help you out and what's going on in PA, the LPPA, and all of your people that are running that are literally going to win?
Yep. The main thing is always, we appreciate donations. You can go to lppa.org, and, we use that money for these mailings to help recruit candidates. So, that's only going to help us, continue to send these letters and find people to run write-in. If you are in Pennsylvania and you are interested in running for office, please reach out to me. My email is chair@lppa.org. and let me know where you're at. I will take a look and see if there's anything open in your district that you can run for write-in and win,
Nice.
especially if you're in a rural area. But even if you're in Philadelphia, there are a lot of judge and inspector of elections positions, and that's only a 2-day-a-year commitment. So please, reach out to me and I'll take a look and see if there's anything. There might not be, but there's a good chance there will be. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of positions around the state where just nobody's on the ballot. And if we don't get somebody in there, they're going to appoint either Democrat or Republican. And no matter what kind of libertarian you are, it's better to have a libertarian there than a Democrat or Republican. You can also go to my chair page on Facebook, and there's a list of our contested candidates there. They definitely would appreciate your support too, even if it's just a share of their content or a donation. We have a lot of great candidates who are running in contested races, and they're our real messengers. They're the ones right now who are, putting the libertarian message out in their community and letting everybody know what we're all about. So I know that was a lot, but
no, it's fine.
Those would be my ask.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you can always go to lppa.org or reach out to Jennifer Moore on Facebook. It's the I always forget. I always want to say at Pennsylvania Chair, but that's not correct. What is it?
Chair at lppa.org is
Chair
my
at
email.
LPPA. Okay.
Yeah, that's my email. But I think, I don't know, my campaign team when I was running for chair put together my Facebook. I think it's More Success for PA or something.
Nice.
Something like that.
Yes, everybody's success in Pennsylvania. Joe Salasky,
Right.
the key to success. Jennifer Moore, the success to Pennsylvania. I do have one more ad to run before I let you go. I hope that you are on pins and needles. So here we go. Joe Gitz for mayor of East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Whatever East Stroudsburg wants or needs, Joel gets. So Joel gets most important question of the day for Jennifer Moore, the state chair for the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania. Do you like turkey bacon?
Bacon comes from pigs. Turkey bacon is an abomination.
There it is.
I'm sorry, Bonnie, our secretary. She loves turkey bacon. We've had this conversation. But I have strong feelings on this. Like, what part of the turkey do you cut the bacon from, right? Like, it's mechanically separated. I don't know what it is, but it's not bacon. So, but going back to Joel Gatz, he would very, very much appreciate a donation to his campaign. And he is one of our great contested candidates who has a very winnable race. So if you send him a few bucks, he will definitely put it to good use.
Joel Gitz for mayor. Joel Gitz. GetsForMayor.com. Whatever East Stroudsburg needs, Joel gets. Joel gets for mayor. Great plug, Jennifer. You helped him out. I love it. So, is there before we get out of here, anything else? Last closing, final comments, please.
Oh man, we've covered a lot. It was interesting with the trajectory went, but that's another thing is, as our season winds down, if you're in a state that, wants to talk to the people who have worked on the Moulton Maneuver, please reach out to us. We'll be pretty busy through November, how that goes, but, Dr. Moulton, Wes Benedict was a huge help on this project. His turkey bacon is for statist. I would be happy to advise other states to see if we can try to find a way for you to win some of these elections by finding loopholes in your election code as well. It's something I'm very interested in here. I think that the party is here to win elections. That's what we exist for. We're a political party. So, it's the most important thing possible to me, and we're getting good at it.
You are getting good at it. As of right now, I believe you're the best at it. So, keep up the fantastic work. Keep trailblazing. I love that that terminology because it's very important as the Libertarian Party, as the third largest political party in at least the country, probably the world. We need to trailblaze. We need to knock down trees and clear forests that haven't been cleared so far. And you in Pennsylvania, have done a phenomenal job of that. Thank you, Jennifer. Keep up the good work. I can't wait to see you in literally like less than 48 hours. That's true. Going to be there, and that's kind of weird. I've never been to PA, so I'll get to meet all of y'all, and I'm pretty excited.
It's a beautiful part of PA that you're coming to, too.
Nice.
It's not like the suburbs of brotherly love here. You know why they call it the city of brotherly love is because everybody fights all the time. It's not even a
Right.
joke. Like, they are the most angry people on earth. I thought everybody was mad at me for the first year I lived here. I love you to all my southeastern Pennsylvanians out there, but you know it's true.
It's
So,
hilarious.
yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but you won't be in Philly
Right.
long, so.
No, just the weekend. Well, I'll just be in Philly for like however long. And apparently, from Steve Sheets, it will not take him long because he does about
Oh,
97 in a
it's
30
not
mile an hour
even
zone. Apparently, I'm
like
scared for my life.
you're taking your life into your hands. You really are.
I might walk.
Like, I mean, people joke about it, but it's really not funny. It's scary.
Tell Liz I'll be late.
All right.
I'm gonna walk. I'm just kidding.
Gonna
Thank
hitchhike.
you so thank
Yeah,
you so
thank
much,
you.
Jennifer. Yeah, this is a great conversation. I can't wait to see you this weekend.
All right. I can't wait. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, thank you for being on. I'll see you soon.
Yep.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you very much to Jennifer Moore, the chair for the Libertarian Party in the state of Pennsylvania. Fantastic. They are absolutely killing it up there. I will be there this weekend. If you didn't already hear the promotional about 15 times in the last 20 seconds. So, Steve, please, for the love of God, keep me in your mind. I am less than 40. All right. I am 38. And if it's a 40-mile-an-hour zone, I will do 48 at max. So please help me. I don't want to fear for my life. Thanks, Steve. I know you're still watching. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Gonna be a great time in PA this weekend. Thank you to all the sponsors for the show. Incredible. There are more coming, that just blows my mind. I hope you guys like that. There's Steve. We will be there in one piece. I hope that doesn't mean like one collective piece. Like we'll all just be one human body and car because it's mangled in the back of an 18-wheeler, all pieced together like a petri dish. That was probably too dramatic for the internet. My apologies. Anyway, hope you like the new setup. I'm in the room. Reason being because so many people and so many things are happening that the show, I just can't contain it anymore. There's times where I have to go live when the kids are still awake. And the easiest way to do that, human centipede, that is not the easiest way to do that. Disregard. I'm reading a comment right there. The easiest way to do that is to lock myself in the room so that we don't have to worry about two kids that are 5 and 2 wrecking the entire situation and never making it happen. Even though the government is messing with my internet, I can tell because when I don't talk about certain issues, my internet's fine. When I talk about certain issues, my internet is terrible. Steve Sheets says, don't forget your blindfold. I was just wrap my face in an LSU flag, and that'll be that. LSU Libertarian. So anyway, I will see y'all in Pennsylvania, live from Pennsylvania, at least a couple of times over the weekend. I don't know if it'll be the same Cajun time, but it will be the same Cajun channel. And I am excited to be in PA this weekend, talking with y'all and being with y'all live on the Cajun Libertarian. And I will see you soon. I love each and every one of you, and I am out.